Welcome back, preschool peeps.
Hello.
It's another day on the podcast trying to help you through this crisis we're all going through, trying to help you and your early learners through it. And today we're going to talk about all zoomed out. Are you like all zoomed out? It could be because your kids are getting annoyed with being on the technology and the novelty has worn off. It could be because you're looking at this saying, I can't afford this anymore. I can't afford to do things this way anymore. And so we're zoomed out. We're done. So on the podcast today, Allison and I are going to talk about the importance of keeping children connected to the concept of school somehow. Right?
Yeah.
We're hearing, Allison and I are hearing a variety of things in our worlds. And it seems to fall, I think, Allison, it seems to fall into two camps. One camp is people who either get the preschool connections online for free because they're part of a public school system or they're subsidized or whatever it is.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, I know that could potentially continue for my child, but my child's annoyed with it. And so I'm not fighting this battle and we're just going to withdraw. Right. Then there's the other camp, I think, of people who are saying, yeah, this has been all nice and cute and stuff, but I can't keep affording to pay for this. We have been laid off from work. Or one of us is laid off or we have less of an income. So I'm not going to continue paying for this online school thing. And we're going to disconnect because of that. And honestly, I get both. I get both camps. Totally get it.
I want to maybe introduce a third camp, which is, I just thought of this. I don't have time for this. Ain't nobody got time for that? That kind of thing. Okay, you got multiple kids at home. You're working from home. You got one computer. I don't got time for that. I'll do this with my first grader, my third grader, but preschool, I don't have time for that. That might be happening too. So, so even if it is for free.
I accept your camp and bring them into the other camps for sure.
Right. Okay.
I think there could be more than we're even thinking of.
There might be
reasons,
more.
Right. Reasons families are saying, we're done here with this online early childhood thing. And so I think what we need to think about a little bit is what can you do with the situation that you are in, thinking about the long term, because the children are going to really struggle going back to a school setting, whatever your situation is now. They're going to really, 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 really struggle going back. I know I'm going to struggle going back to my normal it won't be the same, but what was typically every day. Allison the other day was talking about struggling going back to school when this is over. We're all going to struggle. The children that are in this unique situation, their memories don't work like ours, and they're not going to remember school. Think about the young children, like if they're 2 and 3 years old, right? And it's winter where we live, it snows in the winter usually. So let's say they're 2 and 3 years old and it snows, and then next winter comes and they don't remember snow and they think it's all cool and magical again because they don't remember it from the year before. So think about this time frame. Many of the people listening to or watching this podcast, school stopped somewhere around March. People may be offering online options to June. And then we still got the whole summer ahead if this goes to the point where school has to be canceled for the whole school year, which is looking more and more possible every day. So their memories of being in a school building, being with teachers who tell them, as part of the day at least, what to do and where to go and where to sit, their memories of having to follow school rules and being in the same room with that many peers, they're not going to have those memories. So it's going to be like starting fresh.
They're going to lose their concept of group. The group is gone, and that the teacher leads this group in school, and the principal leads that group, but or whatever. They're going to lose that because school changed 3 weeks ago. School is now at home. The dynamics of teaching at home is totally different than the dynamics of going to school. So you have to try to maintain whatever their group is, whatever their community might be, as best you can during this crisis.
Right. So here's what I think. I think, let's say you're in the camp where your kids, your preschool is going to continue and you could potentially continue it. Your kids are annoying you because they don't want to do it anymore because the novelty has worn off. And they're like, I don't want to get on the call. I don't want to get on the Zoom. I don't want to go watch this. I don't want to read that. I don't want to. My advice to you is going to be kind of like when children start school in the beginning of the school year. Again, you get two different types of kids. One type of child gets separation anxiety from the jump, and right from the beginning, they're crying and don't want to go. And then there's another type of child. And that other type of child starts to complain about going to school 2 weeks in, because 2 weeks is always the magic number in preschool. And ironically, we right now are at about 2 weeks, not so ironically, because 2 weeks is the magic number. It takes young children usually about 2 weeks to start to get over separation anxiety, 2 weeks to decide they're annoyed with going, 2 weeks to get into a new routine, 2 weeks to reject a routine, 2 weeks, right? So here we are. So my advice is going to be this, folks, just as if you were bringing them to a school and you had to power through that for the long term, for the better good, for their future, you may have to do it now too. Because if you have a way to keep them connected to their current teacher and their current classmates, maybe that'll reduce some of this crazy that's going to go on when they have to go back, especially if this extends to September. Now, those people who can't afford it, who are like, I'm not paying for this for whatever reason, okay, totally get that. We need to seek out resources that are still about the concept of school and still about bringing a class together. It makes me almost wish Romper Room was still on. Anyone in my age group knows what that is. If you're not in my age group, Romper Room was a show that was on television for 40 years, from the 1950s to the 1990s. And it depicted a classroom of early learners. There was a teacher and kids in the class. And those of us who loved Romper Room watched it every day and participated along with them. So if you're curious, what is Romper Room? Go on YouTube. I'm sure they have episodes you can watch.
On YouTube.
I'm sure. So, Allison, do you know of any resources that would replicate school? Have you
replicate school? No, but I feel like when I get off here, that's what I'm going to look into, because I've been looking up simply online resources for like, what can I use and you use as parents to help teach your kid at home. I didn't even think of like looking at like replicating the school like Romper Room would, but there's got to be something out there that's I
know that there are authors, children's authors, reading their books to children.
Yes,
I know that. Is. And I know that people are running classes online. For example, I know somebody who is a preschool art teacher, and now she's doing online, like to show the kids. Which is great, because that's the concept of teacher. So if you can find the concept of teacher and be talking to the kids about, oh, the teacher's reading a book, or this is a teacher who's going to be doing this, that would be great. I'm not sure about finding online where you actually get to see students too, where you get to see kids participating, other than old videos of something like Romper Room. Maybe if people who are listening to the podcast know of a resource, they can let us know. We'll put it on our website right now. There is a menu item that says listener downloads or listener resources. I forget how it's up there. And if you click in there, you're going to see some of the resources we've talked about in this podcast. You're going to see the brochure for families about the importance of play. You will see something that you can click on to get Allison's list of really great resources. And maybe we can add to that.
I keep adding to
update it. And maybe when we update it, we'll put another picture that you can click on there, where you can get, here's how your children can still stay connected to the concept of school. Maybe if Allison gets a chance, she'll do some research while I'm still doing the professional development for staffs online.
I had to write it down because I forget, but I'll look that up.
But to totally say, I think, in my professional opinion, and Allison, you can add to this or disagree, I think to say to our kids, just because we're all out of patience and we're all overwrought, to say to kids, fine, don't connect to school at all. I can't do this and I don't care, is going to come back to you in the long term.
Yes.
What do you think?
For a lot of different reasons. Like, I feel like that kind of shows like, hey, when it gets hard, just give up. Like, and I don't think you want to teach that to your kid. And life is hard right now. So, I mean, like, it's easy to just give up and give in. But also, like, imagine what September is going to be if you say, hey, you don't like school? Okay, you don't have to go. You know what I mean? And right now they get to go to school in their house. So like having them go to school in a building is going to be even harder. If you said, hey, if you don't like school, you don't have to go. Oh, it's hard. Okay. We don't have to do it. So I feel like when you have that thought of like, oh, we don't have to do this anymore, think 6 months from now in September, when you're trying to get the child that you said, yeah, we don't have to do that, on the school bus or
Good luck.
meeting a teacher, or exactly.
This is going to be
luck.
unreal.
So it's going to be hard for the kids that still did school online, I think. But if you said, I don't want to deal with this anymore, I don't want to do it, like, what is that teaching your kid? What is that teaching them?
I was doing like professional development.
Yeah.
I was conducting a professional development session for a school that I work with, having to do with, the topic was talking to kids about COVID-19. And we were talking about what it likely will be like once we're with them, that talking with them about this isn't going away. They may need to talk with them now on technology about it. They can advise families, but it's not going away once we're back together. And we know that from what happened with kids after events like 9/11. They continued to play that out in their pretend play and in their stories and in their drawings for a very long time. This is going to be the same. So I was on this group with the teachers talking about this. We're having a conversation, and I said to them, first of all, can you imagine the separation anxiety that's going to go on once this is over, if children are used to being home with their entire family? Because that's not what we are used to from the past. Even when kids are home for like a whole summer break, the whole family isn't there the whole time, and you're able to go out and run around and have play dates, and there's a lot of things going on. I can't imagine what this is going to be like. And I was talking to them about how we're going to have to go back into our routines, like the routine of your day, but we're going to have to be ready for the social emotional slip of their skills that's going to take place. Not only their academic, but even more intensively, their social emotional skills are going to slip back. So anything we can do to help children with less of that loss of skill and confidence would be impactful, even if it's, like I said, even if it's, get online if you are someone who can get online, and just start Googling, online preschool, and see if people, I just don't think we're inventing the wheel anymore. I think whatever I think of, people have put something out there.
It's out there
great.
Somewhere. It's out there.
We have to find it. So maybe Allison, if you find it, we'll put it up and let our listeners know.
Yeah.
I just am like, I don't know. I just feel like there's got to be a way we can keep these young children connected with the concept of school. Otherwise, we're not serving them well.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to point this out because I don't want to forget this point, and then we'll go to you, Allison.
Okay.
I hope that, and it may be a futile hope, but I hope that if you are somebody who is in charge of a preschool and families can't pay your tuition anymore, which is completely and totally understandable, that you're still reaching out and maintaining a connection to school. And it doesn't have to be the same as everybody else, but there still needs to be outreach to these kids and families, because that's one of the things that might keep you alive. That's simply good marketing. So that if and when they can afford this again, and if and when they're working again, they will remember how great and kind you were. Yes. And how connected you tried to stay with their children. And it benefits the children to do that. So it's like a win-win, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I think so too. I think you need to maintain your community. And right now, like that's their community, is their childcare center, their preschool, their whatever it is. Like, and I just think it's the nice, kind thing to do. Be like, hey, I miss seeing you every day. How are you? Just check in with people.
Right.
That you have a relationship with. You can't, don't just shut it down because your school closed. I was going to say, there is this big, large majority of people out there who are like, oh, the kids are going to be so excited to go back in September.
I'm not so sure.
I don't agree with that. Okay. And all the teachers who are like, oh yeah, I'm going to be so excited to be out. No. Okay.
I'll be excited to be out. No, I'll be excited to be out. And here's why, because I'll be able to see my loved ones.
Right. There's that aspect of that.
I'll feel a little bit maybe more secure being outside once we realize the numbers of this are going down. But go on. I agree with you. I feel like kids are not going to be as excited.
There's a lot of teachers out there that are like, oh, they'll be so excited and we'll be so excited and everything. Yeah. Okay. No,
Depends.
I don't think that's true. I think there's going to be a large group of kids that are now fearful of going to school or don't want to go to school because they were at home for 6 months. You got adults who are going to be fearful of being out. I mean, one of them. And I think like this whole like concept of like, oh, we'll just be so excited to be free is hindering some teachers and stops them from like talking about it now. Like talk about it now so that in September it's a little bit easier to go back. Don't be like, oh, they'll be so excited. It doesn't matter. We don't have to talk about that now. No, you should, because I don't think they're going to be as excited as you think they're going to be. I
think it's going to be hard for all of us to go back. And especially because, I mean, the information we have now is saying that this virus will not be gone when things start to reopen, and we can have further outbreaks of this until they have a vaccine or a treatment of some sort. So I think we're all going to be a little bit tense. And I think children, like you said, who are used to being with their families 24/7 like this, are going to struggle. You know, you always have some kids whose temperament is more extroverted, and there are always kids who come in the beginning of a school experience in the early childhood years, come bounding in, so excited to go to school because their older siblings were going to school. Well, that isn't happening right now. The older siblings are not going to school. You know, they used to be so excited for a variety of reasons, and we'll still get some of those kids who are just so happy to be back. But I think many children of the listeners of this podcast aren't even going to remember what it's like to be there.
They're not. And I also think there's some kids that maybe school wasn't that great. Like they might not be missing school, you know, for some kids. So, you know, like there's some teachers that probably don't miss going to school. Like you just because you miss it doesn't mean they are missing it in the same way or missing it at all, you know, because they're like, this is great, I'm home. Like, you know, and yeah.
On the other side of the coin, there are children whose safest place was school, and now they're home in places that are not as safe. Either emotionally or physically. And while it will be wonderful to be able to get them back into schools, which was their safest place, we're going to have to reteach them that it is their safest place.
Their safe place. Yeah. Because their safe place was ripped from them with no notice.
And they were I want you to think about this. Those children who their safest place is not home have now been forced to stay in those places. And we don't know if, you know, they're sort of thinking, well, they took my school away and they'll be angry at school. Who knows?
Well, I don't think they might have this fear that it's going to get taken away again at any moment.
Yeah. And it could be
their safe place. And it might
be. And it could be. So I think the bottom line for this episode is this. Maybe. However, this is such uncharted territory we're all doing together.
It really is. Yeah.
Maybe we just need to remember that children won't remember. A lot of them won't remember. And even if they do, they won't remember what it feels like to be there. And they won't remember what it's like to have to function in a group of 15 kids, because now they're used to being home.
Right.
And it's going to be a very, very hard shift, I think, for many, many children. So the more we can keep them connected to the concept of school and the concept of teachers and the concept of working in a group, the better they may fare. However it is, you have to do that.
Right.
Yeah. Such hard times. It's rough. It is really quite a thing.
Yeah.
So if you folks find any resources, please go to our website, howpreschoolteachersdoit.com, and let us know in our contact form. You can also find us on Facebook to communicate with us. We have a page, How Preschool Teachers Do It Podcast is our page on Facebook. And please let us know what you find, what you're doing to try and stay connected with the students, and any other ideas you may have for episodes, which we're putting on our very, very long list.
Yes.
You know, I'm almost hopeful we don't get through that list, that we get to go back to regularly scheduled programming before Allison and I work our way through the list.
Yeah, I know.
That would be lovely. What normal? There's not going to be a normal. We're going to have to all forge a new normal.
The new normal. Yeah.
I
don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm getting a little old to be forging new normals.
No, I know. And this experience is making us older. Like,
yes.
I feel like
and
you're
gonna
like a
actually
year
get
and
to
like
watch that happen. You're gonna get to watch that happen.
You're gonna
right
see
here.
my hair get longer, guys.
Yeah. You're gonna see, like, it's not good. So,
or hey.
It occurred to me, Allison, earlier today that going to video during this crisis might not have been the best idea we've ever had.
Best idea, because you're just gonna see us go downhill.
Oh, wow. Swiftly. All right, we're going to.
At least we're not alone. Everybody's in it.
Yeah, but everybody's not on this. Everybody's
not
right
everybody
here.
puts themselves
There are
out
less
there
selfies.
like
There are less selfies on the internet now, and you and I were doing like movable selfies here. Okay. Yeah. So we're going enough of this. We're still out. Hi, podcast listeners. Remember, you're out there. So we're going to sign off, and we're going to catch you again on another episode of the Cindy and Alison COVID-19 podcast episodes. Oh, look at the jazz hands. Okay, catch you next time. Preschool keeps you rock. Keep sharing our episodes. We appreciate all your feedback.
All right, bye.